Crime is everywhere and consistently on the rise. Quick and easy cases are solved daily, but what of those other cases? The ones that have gone cold with no new leads or information. The famous serial killers have been captured and made public. But what of those still on the loose? Or even worse, still killing? Welcome to the realm of darkness. Your host, Reeni and Ashley, will be your guides into the mysterious world of true crime cases and stories. Here are your hosts, Reeni and Ashley.
Hi everyone, welcome to Realm of Darkness. I'm Reeni, and we all know Ashley. So, what will we be talking about this wonderful evening?
Yes, so I am only laughing because I just sent Reeni a text. So this case doesn't technically have a name, so I just named it the Sugar Mama. So we're going to be talking about a lady. Her name is Corrinna Smith, and she is 59 years old. And her children came to her and told her that her husband and their dad molested them as children. So to get revenge, so-called, she boiled 2 kettles of water and mixed it with 3 bags of sugar and dumped it on him when he was sleeping. So that is the case we're going to be talking about tonight. And I'm sorry, I'm a nerd, but I just cracked myself up with that Sugar Mama.
It was funny. Okay, I will tell you, I have never in my entire life thought, like, you know how, like, we've always talked about, like, okay, like a wood chipper, a suitcase, or anything like that. Like, who would have thought that, like, sugar, sugar, out of all the things, when I was reading up on the case and you were telling me about it, and you're like, she used sugar and hot water and she mixed it together. I'm like, well, what is that gonna do?
Well, and I know, and that's what I had to look it up too, because I mean, the case just talked about what led her to that point. But they did say that it was 2 kettles worth of water and it was 3 bags of sugar, and she mixed it into a garden bucket. And then she dumped it on him when he was sleeping. And apparently it makes it thicker. And if you dump water on yourself, it naturally kind of beads up and kind of goes away. But with the sugar, it sticks and it kind of absorbs into your skin. So it's actually going to do more damage than if it was just boiling water. And what kind of led her up to this is her kids, I believe, were in their 20s, maybe 30s. And the daughter one night was drinking with her mom and told her that her father had molested her as a child. And it kind of registered something in the mom's head. Her son, many years before that, had also kind of mentioned that he had gone through some type of trauma in his childhood and ended up getting arrested for assault, for beating a man. And when he did, he told his mom that this man was a pedophile and had tried to touch him sexually. It was shortly after that he killed himself at 25 years old. So after the mother kind of linked those 2 cases together is when she says that she, out of rage, did this and dumped it on the husband. And he was sleeping. After she dumped this water on him, she just turned, walked out of the house, went to the neighbor's house and said, "I've hurt him bad. I think I've killed him." So the neighbors called the cops and called the ambulance. When they showed up, he was still alive. He was burning, and he was crying to them that she threw water on him. He's burning. Please let him die because he hurt so bad. So he was taken to the emergency room. He was taken to a burn unit where he spent roughly 5 weeks. He had a couple different skin grafts. He had some surgery done. It was determined that there were 2nd-degree burns and 3rd-degree burns over 36% of his body. And he did end up passing away 5 weeks later.
Okay. So I did read where the neighbor's house that she went to, she did not know them. Like, because it was like 5 houses down. So what would make you go 5 houses down instead of like your next door neighbor?
Letting it soak in.
I mean, I guess
Well, I'm not trying to be
Let
mean.
it soak in.
I mean, just letting it soak in, because even when she finally did get arrested and she went to court, she tried to plead that she acted out of insanity, that she was angry, she was mad. It wasn't out of revenge. It was strictly that she was fuming and she was livid. But the amount of burns he had on his body, she had to boil that water for roughly 13 minutes.
Well, not only that, but let's factor this in. She waited a whole day.
Yes.
A whole day, and then came up with this solution. So in all actuality, what did she do? Google it? Because honestly, I've never heard of this like at all. And it's not like, I mean, I know for like the show, we do a lot of, I mean, if somebody were to go on our laptops, they'd probably think that we're like killers ourselves.
My Google search and my notebook of notes from doing the research on these cases. Oh yeah, no, I'm a done deal if anything happens to my husband.
Like it was her the whole time. No.
Yeah, whether I had something to do with it or not, I'm gone. I'm life in prison. I already know, no parole. I'm ready for it.
I'm testifying. Like I know she didn't do it. I know she didn't do it. But that's the thing. Like, and I couldn't find the information out. And I guess the weird thing is you couldn't find much on like what her daughter had to say or if her daughter testified in court. Like I couldn't find that.
No.
I don't know if you did.
No. They actually, when they did the court or when they had the court sessions and things like that, I don't think the daughter was involved at all, because one of the statements that I found from the police is that by Corrinna doing this, she took away the possibility for a trial, and she took away the possibility for Michael, who was her husband, to defend himself. And I know we've done past cases where we said pedophile, like, deserves the worst of the worst. But in this situation, there was absolutely no evidence whatsoever pointing that he actually did this, aside from the brother and sister kind of having a similar story.
Well, here's where the issue I think lies. Okay. Alcohol was involved. Okay. And so there could have been an issue with the stepdad because he was the stepdad. And she probably didn't like him. I mean, I'm not saying that was the case by any means, but I'm also looking at two sides of this.
Well, and he was 21 years older than her mother. So Corinna was 59 when she poured the water on him. This man was only 80. I mean, he was 80 years old. So he was roughly 21 years older.
But I guess my thing is, why not wait? Like, why not, when you found this information out, why not go home and be like, okay, this is what is being said. We need to figure this out. Or why not just call the cops right away?
Right.
Why stir on it for a whole day and like, I wonder how I can get back at him. Like, without even confronting him. I think it's kind of one of those things. Because if it was me in that situation, I'd be like, we're ending this conversation and our wine drinking right away, and I'm going to go home and figure out what's going on.
Right.
Not, I'm going to sit on this for a day and I'm going to probably Google how to kill him.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't know how you are, but when I get angry, the more I think about it, the more I work myself up. Like and then I start to play different scenarios in my head, which is probably not murder scenarios.
Okay.
I'm just like, maybe I could beat their head off my car. No, just kidding. No, but I do play different scenarios in my head in that situation. Like, could I have done something better? Did I miss the signs? Which just then kind of gets the emotions going, which is probably why she told the police that she was livid and fuming, and that's what drove her to do it. But you're right. It was a day later, and you had 13 minutes while the water was boiling to think about what you were about to do. So she knew what she was doing.
But, I start to wonder, like, how did that conversation come about? Like, because if this child was older and I think you said in her 20s, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, I think late 20s, maybe early 30s.
Okay. Now, you're telling me that that's the only time that you had one-on-one time with your mother at that point. So, and that to me in itself just seems odd.
Well, and don't you think that because her brother, he did commit suicide when he was 25, and with that comment of assaulting a pedophile, don't you think that would have been kind of your door? Like, if you were so scared to say something before, that could have been your doorway to be like, hey, mom, you know, he's not lying and this is why he did what he did, which might have helped the mom heal a little bit more from his passing as well.
But here's the thing, when she was in court, she blamed that whole suicide on the fact that he was quote unquote, that because he supposedly was, and I'm just going to say supposedly, because there is no evidence whatsoever that he even molested those kids.
Well, and she never technically said molested. She said, what? It wasn't the word molested. I think it was touched might have been the word that was used. So I don't know.
Here's the problem that I have. Okay. Let's say that you're out someplace, right? And we've all been, as adults, we've been out someplace, right? And let's use a bar for an example, because we are old. We're older and we can go there.
We're old.
We're
old.
We're old.
We're old and boring.
Yes. Like a bar. I'm in bed by 8. So what I'm trying to get at is, and you're kind of all packed in there. And sometimes somebody accidentally probably touches you in a way. I wouldn't be like, oh no, now I'm gonna pour sugar on them and sugar and water on them. You know what I mean? Because they touched me inappropriately.
Yeah.
So, I guess we have to look at it that way too. And how do you know it wasn't an accident? In our house, I'm not saying that anybody's touching anybody inappropriately. That's not what I'm saying. But we all live in the same house. Sometimes it's like, oh, well, I'm sorry. I didn't, you know what I mean?
Yeah. And if you're not locking doors, heck, at my in-laws, I've walked in on my sister and I'm like, oh, sorry. And like walk out. Anything can be taken in a wrong sense. And I'm not saying that he didn't do it or that he did do it, but I think in this situation, and being a mom is hard, because if my son told me somebody touched them, I probably would fly off the handle too. And I don't know if I would ever go as far as murder, but I would definitely, I would show up at a house and have a conversation.
I don't know. Here's the thing. I think, I see what you're saying. I cannot see you just showing up at a house and having a conversation. I know you.
It would be a stern conversation.
I know you.
I'd be like,
I know you. Where's your dad in this conversation? Because I don't think that there's enough credit cards in the world to bail you out.
I'm just saying, like, and you have to, I don't know. It's so hard because I can see both sides of it. I can see why she was upset. I can't see that her dumping boiling sugar water on someone, but I can see her being upset and defending her children 100%. But I also see that there was no evidence whatsoever. That it was never spoken of. There was no evidence. There was no red flags. There was nothing until that one night that they had a few drinks.
Exactly. And that's, I think, where I'm having the biggest issue. And why not confront him and be like, okay, this is what my children have said. Now you can pack your 80-year-old butt and get out, because I'm about to call the cops. Yeah,
right.
Wherever that is. I'm going to help you pack. Probably not even help you. I'll probably throw your clothes outside and start a fire. Okay. But, but she was his caregiver. And Bill, there he is with the credit card thing. No, I'm just joking. 12 years.
Well, she was convicted to life in prison with a minimum of 12 years before she would even be considered for parole.
Yeah.
And this just happened, I think, within the last year or so.
Yes.
So this is a brand new case. So we won't hear about it again for a while. I'm actually going to look at the date. Look it up. I am. I'm going to look at the date if I can find it. But it literally just happened.
Wasn't it July? Was I right or wrong on that one?
No, yeah. So it was July. Yeah, it was July. I remember that.
Yeah, because I must have read a different article because it said that she got 12 years. So if you, then they must have left the 12 years to life.
It was July 2021. So literally just not even a whole year ago. Yeah.
I mean, and this was in what, New England?
You know, I actually
think
know.
so. Yeah.
Probably Wisconsin.
No, it wasn't.
Everything happens in Wisconsin. Actually, I feel like everything happens in Ohio, but
It's Ohio and Wisconsin.
Yeah.
No, it was in, I don't know. It was in England. I don't know. You're Googling it. You
Do you want me to look?
Yeah, look it up.
I don't know where it was.
It wasn't in this country. I mean, because
Neston?
Yeah, there you go. That is not anywhere here.
Neston, I don't.
Okay, she doesn't know.
I'm not a geography
I think it's
teacher,
in,
I don't know.
I think it's
Somewhere-
in England.
Somewhere over there.
I think it's in England.
And I mean, I feel like some of their laws are way harsher than ours. But yeah, this is why I was kind of excited that we talked about this case, because it is such a hard one. Like I said, you've got children that are at the time, children that are involved, a possible innocent man murdered in a very horrific, terrifying, and painful way. I mean, he didn't pass out or anything like that. He felt his skin burning. He was in the hospital. The only time, I mean, he was put on drugs, clearly, and medication, but he did have to get skin grafts, and he had multiple surgeries, and he suffered for 5 weeks before he passed.
His torso and his arm, one of his arms, he had to have, I don't know if they said 36 surgeries.
It's not, because I was going to say 30, so I think that's right.
About 36 surgeries, and he unfortunately died about a month. But I think she could have. Honestly, she could have handled it differently. Honestly, like I said, sugar and water, like boiling water, and three bags of sugar.
3 bags of sugar. That's a lot of sugar.
I mean, now you're just wasting sugar. Really good sugar.
That's why I called her Sugar Mama.
I had to do it.
And then a garden bucket, and I don't know, maybe their garden buckets are different, but I feel like our garden buckets are big. So how the water to sugar ratio, it must have been.
Well, hang on. Are we talking about a garden bucket that is a metal garden bucket? Or are we talking about a plastic one? Because if it's plastic and she put it on the stove, that thing would have melted.
No, she heated up the water in 2 kettles,
right,
like 2 pots. I was like, yeah, she would have melted. But so just 2 of those kettles, what is it? Maybe 12 cups of water. So 24 cups of water and 3 bags of sugar. So she practically created a paste. Because I know when people read that it was boiling water thrown, like they're thinking like water, but this was more almost like a slimy paste.
Right. Well, like I said,
onto him.
I didn't even know that if you put sugar in water like that, it sticks. Honestly, I really didn't. That was like news to me. And I don't want to say that she was crafty in that aspect. That's not what I was saying. But who would think of something like that? Like, do you just Google that? Because, like they confiscate people's, laptops and phones and stuff like that. And they're like, okay, that was it. That was it.
Yeah. I think that just because she didn't deny it, I mean, from the very first phone call to the police, she didn't deny it. And she's like, yeah, I think I killed him. So I really don't think there was any investigating whatsoever on the police side or on the court side. I do kind of wish that they would have brought the daughter into it, not that it would have made it any better, but just wondering if this man, I don't want to say was justified, but was he an innocent man who was just falsely accused and then killed in a horrible way? Or was he really a pedophile that no one knew about for years? There was no investigating of any of the
touching,
molesting. There was nothing.
So what happens if, and we don't know this because there's still like new stuff coming out, what happens if there was insurance money and her daughter and her, and I'm just throwing out some theories, okay? And they wanted it.
Right.
I mean, he was 80 years old.
Well, then just wait.
But
I mean,
no offense.
no offense, but just wait. It's no, I mean, you can't do anything with money when you're life in prison. Like, you gotta think this out. Like, you got what, maybe 5-10 years at the most, or you get life in prison and no, like, just wait it out. Right, that's what I'm saying. One foot in the box.
I mean, it's not a laughing matter. It really isn't. But like, I've contemplated that. Like, was it for money? I mean, what was her? I mean, we don't technically know. Her daughter didn't testify in court.
Right. Well, and the sad thing is, and this is going to bring a whole different, like, probably going to get some hate for this, but the bad thing about it is, like, as a woman, and Reeni, you probably agree with me, we can say anything we want, and there's really no proof. I mean, you as a girl, you can hook up with anybody you want, do what you want, and then if you feel bad about it, you can turn around and say, oh, they raped me, they molested me. And the female's word, most of the time, I'm not going to say always, but most of the time is taken for almost like putting a hand on the Bible.
Right. I see what you're saying.
So unfortunately, and there are women out there who are telling the truth and they deserve to have their story told, but there are some women out there that take advantage of it. And who knows in this situation, dad, close your ears, but I had a stepmom that I absolutely hated. And if I knew I could have got away with it, done. Like,
yeah, dad.
You know,
just remember that.
It's just, no, there was no insurance money.
That we know of. That we know of. And that's what I'm saying. Or the theory that you may be going with, and I'm down this path, would you think the daughter was sleeping with the old guy or the guy?
I don't know. That's a rough one, but I just,
because you don't want to accuse anybody of it. Okay.
No.
But if you're in your 20s, or 20s, close to 30s, and you've just, like, was there a fight between,
right,
her and the stepdad? Was she sleeping with the stepdad? We don't know.
Or did she just really hate him and try to find a reason to get her mom to leave?
Okay, but instead of saying, you know what, I really hate him, I want you to leave him. I mean, I know that sounds kind of selfish. I mean,
some people, like, if somebody came up to me and said, hey, I really hate your husband, you need to leave him, I'm going to give them the big, like, F you. Like, that's my decision, not yours. But if somebody came up and said, hey, your husband cheated on you with me, then that's a whole nother,
but that's the thing. That's like accusing somebody, but like without, like, what are you going to do? Dump a hot water and sugar on your husband because he, quote unquote, may have cheated on you? I mean, in his sleep, without getting him up and confronting him and then throwing the water on him?
He's bigger than me. Yeah, I'm going to take him down when he's weak. Like, I mean, I'm just saying. He was 80, so I doubt that. But I don't know. There's most of the time, me with the last one, with the Alaskan Avenger, I was all for, like, they deserve it. But there's something about this case that just doesn't sit right with me. Something that just doesn't make sense.
The whole thing makes absolutely no sense. Yeah, I will tell you this. Especially when, you're going through it and you're like, this doesn't make sense. Now you two are drinking. Was it something that, I think that they just came up with it?
You think so? To try and get her out of it? But then what about the son? Because that was a couple years earlier. If they came up with it to try to get out of it, do you think that they lied about what the son said?
Well, here's the issue. From what I understood, and I want you to correct me if I'm wrong on this, I don't think he came out and said. I think it was, all I read was the daughter came out and said, not the son.
No, the only thing, you're right. The only thing that the son said was that the person he assaulted was a pedophile because he tried to touch him. And like struck something in him. So then,
But let's
and then he
think
killed himself.
right, but if that's what happened, okay, we'll say that that's exactly what happened while he was in prison, right? Is that prison
See,
jail?
and I think him assaulting that person that was the pedophile was before going to prison. I think he killed himself.
That's okay. That's what
I
that's
think he committed the suicide.
It's probably where I got that a little confused. But like I said, again, if he didn't say, okay, it was my stepdad that did it, what are you going to go on? And now he is in prison, or I think it was prison. I don't know what it's because this is not in this country. So I don't know if they call it, I would assume that they call it prison. I don't know.
A jail.
Jail, one of the two. Something. Incarcerated, it's a better word.
There we go.
Now I just lost my train of thought. Okay, got it again. So he's in jail because of basically assaulting a pedophile, right? So again, it triggered something, but why not when he's there say, hey mom, this is why it triggered me.
Yeah.
This is what's going on. So are you sure that the sister didn't go visit him? And there's so many ways that this could go, because all she got in court was basically the fact that her son killed himself because of this. Well, how do you know? How do you know?
And all she said was, well, he told me. And that is one of the things that I would like to know. And I looked for it and I couldn't find it. But I want to know, at what age did this possibly happen? Because kids are very, very impressionable, and you can tell a kid something and they will remember it for days, months, whatever. And I want to know, were they young enough that maybe somebody put the bug in their ear and they thought it happened? Or was it something that maybe they were 12, 13, 14, and it is an actual event that they would remember? Because, I don't know, but a lot of, and this is just from my husband being in the correction side, but a lot of it was like really younger kids who can't defend themselves, or who aren't old enough to say, mommy, daddy, this person's touching me. It's the kids that, I don't want to say that they could get away with it, but it's normally younger kids because kids don't know better.
And you're right. But if it was going on for so long, like I said, you get to a certain age and you would assume that she would have one-on-one time with her mom. Same with him. Like I said, to this day, I still have one-on-one time with my mom. Our morning phone calls, I'll, bitch about the day before or whatever, because that's what I do. And then, whatever. So if I was having a bad day or something went wrong, she'd be the first person that I went to. But I couldn't imagine her pouring sugar. I don't know. She's a little crazy too.
You just ratted your mom out.
I know. Sorry, mom. But what I'm saying is, I guess as a parent, instead of just like confronting that person, like especially your significant other that you're caring for, who's 80 years old now, mind you, sleeping. Why wait until he went to bed? Why not do while he's awake? So he could have at least defended himself. Like, why are you boiling sugar and water?
But even at 80, there are some 80-year-olds that are probably in better shape than I am, but there are some that are, would he have been able to defend himself aside from maybe a few words? But then the other thing that I want to know too, and again, as us being moms, and even I think my dad would be able to say, is your kids so well. If something like that was going on, parents see a change in their child. To the point of, even like if I got sick, my dad could tell just by looking at my eyes that I wasn't feeling good. And so you as a parent know your child. And I feel like if something like that was going on, you would see a change. Either they would become more shy, their behavior would change, maybe they would try to cover up more. I think there would be some type of sign. So if for 25, 30 years, like, you had no idea this was going on, I don't know. I think I would just be asking more questions. I think I would be well, what happened? Tell me how this happened. Tell me when he did this to you. You know,
But they
something.
were sitting and drinking wine. The two of them were. Okay. Let's be honest. Okay. If you and I were to sit and drink wine together, okay.
We need some credit cards.
Yeah, Bill, we need credit cards.
And a getaway. Or, well, technically a pickup.
We need something. I'll never forget that conversation, but that's for a different day. But I don't remember what I was going to say now because we were way off topic.
But if we were sitting there drinking.
Oh, yeah. If we were sitting in there drinking, we would probably tell each other dirty little secrets that we probably naturally, or we would come up with something funny and be like, oh my God, is she serious? I mean, it depends on how many glasses of wine deep, we were in. But I guess, I mean, you should know your child. If they're drinking, they're like, oh, okay, like I'm going to go home and do this.
Well, and also, like, do you think that 2 children would keep that in for 30 years? Like, there has to be a best friend. There has to be an aunt, an uncle, somebody that this kid or that these kids would have told that could have said, yes, they told me about this 10, 15 years ago and, and they ignored it or whatever it was, but they would have had to tell somebody.
Well, and see, that's the thing. Like, I can't figure that out because most everybody's got friends.
Most people have friends.
I got like 2.
Well, you're one of mine, so.
You're one of mine too, so. The other one's iffy. I'm joking. But anyways, like I said, you would assume that like they would confide in somebody. Like I know that my child would, when sometimes I have to go through her phone to find out why she's like giving me the silent treatment. I'm just nosy, but I guess
you're being a good mom. That's not nosy.
Oh, I'm just straight nosy.
You have to be. She's young.
But here, she's at that age where like, you don't know what's going to happen. And if she's not going to tell me, she's going to tell somebody else. I mean, and that's a natural thing. So of course, if they did tell somebody, why didn't that person tell? They went to school. Why didn't they say something? That's why they're there.
That actually, so, I mean, this is a completely different case that I do want to cover on here one day. But, sometimes, okay, so there was a little girl. She was 4 years old and she was abused severely by her mother. It happened in this area. And the school noticed that this little girl was coming to school with bruises. She was being starved. And she actually reached out to child services. And she reached out to people 5 different times and nobody did a thing. So how do we know that maybe somebody at the school didn't try?
I mean, that's true. I mean, that technically is true because sometimes the system does fail. There's been cases around here that DCFS has been, in, but they quote unquote didn't find any findings, and now the little girl is gone. But like I said, that's for a whole different story. But that's another thing too. But what about if? Okay, naturally, we teach our children that if their friends are in trouble in some way, shape, or form, and they go to their friends or whatnot, they're gonna tell an adult. At least that's what I teach my child, and I'm gonna go through the proper channels to make sure that that child's gonna be okay, and so on and so forth. I mean, I'm one of those moms, like I have to have a list of like all my children's friends, parents' phone numbers, because that's just who I am. Again, I'm a nosy mom.
Well, no, in today's world, you can't be too safe. I mean, you have a girl and a boy, and even me just having a boy, there's so many times where I'm like, I used to do sleepovers when I was little. I used to go to people's houses and, stay with my friends. But in today's world, it's so scary. I'm like, do I want my son to go to sleepovers? What could happen? Would he tell me? It's just, people suck, to be honest.
They do. And it's hard because, like I said, you can't trust anybody anymore.
Mm-mm.
And like I said, regardless if that was their stepdad for how long, okay, and I'm not saying that he was a trustworthy person by any
Mhm.
means, but she can't. And this is where I guess I'm having this a problem, and maybe it's just me, and you can explain this maybe a little bit better. But if you know that there's something off about your child, I
Mhm.
mean, I'm a light sleeper, so I'm going to know who's up, when they're up,
Mhm.
doing whatever, taking a glass of water, if they snuck out of my house. I'm just that type of person. But wouldn't you know, like, the signs?
You would think. And, unless she worked a different schedule than him, I feel like even if my husband gets up in the middle of the night, I feel him get out of bed because I, like you, am a light sleeper.
Mhm.
So I feel like somewhere in that relationship, if there would have been evidence or a sign, she would have known. It couldn't have been like he was doing this for years and, oh my God, I never knew.
See,
And that's like,
that's where I'm having the issue. How do you not know what goes on under your own roof?
right. Well, and there are some situations, like I know there was a case where it was a stepfather, and he stayed home and the mother worked. So it was like a stay-at-home dad, and he would do it during that time when she was gone. So I know there
Mhm.
are cases where those types of things can happen.
Well, those, yes, but
Yeah,
I'm talking about, like, these guys get up in the middle of the night from,
right.
their wives, or the women do it,
Mhm.
okay? Because we can't just say that the men do it, and
No, women do it too. Yeah.
there's a reason why I'm going to go back to that. As far as the men and women, we'll talk about that here in just a couple minutes. You know where I'm going with that. But what I'm saying is, it's not just men, it's also women that do
Mhm.
this. But how do you not know if they're
Right.
getting up in the middle of the night? I mean, I don't know about your child, but I know who will get up in the middle of the night and be like, I'm thirsty.
Mhm.
Well, go wake your dad up. I mean, maybe call Santa Claus. I don't care if you're thirsty. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But somebody gets up because he's thirsty.
Mhm.
Now, if I notice that their stepdad or whatever was, not in bed constantly, my
Mhm.
ass would be up. Well, where the heck are you? You know what I
Mhm.
mean? Like, are you outside smoking? Are you
Right.
at the bar? I mean, are you?
Mhm. Well, and I don't know about you, but I feel like if my child even whimpers when he's sleeping, I hear it. And he's still young, so I don't know if that's why, but it's like even when I think he's crying, he's not crying. So I feel like if something is going on, the child is more than likely going to be crying
Yeah.
or whimpering or something. There'd be some type of noise. There'd be no way that it would be dead silent. And in my house, I can hear every room.
Mm-hmm.
And if I heard something that I thought was fishy, I'm getting out of bed with a baseball bat for sure.
Well, and like I said, sometimes I wonder if they just want to be naive to the situation, and that's all
Yeah.
I'm saying, because they don't want to. How can I put this?
Like, oh, this can't be real. This isn't
Right,
happening to me.
or
They would never do that. Mhm.
right, or I love this person this much that they
Mhm.
would never do that to my children, and I'm
Mhm.
thinking to myself, anybody can do anything to
Hell,
anybody's
people could
child.
not believe that Jeffrey Dahmer did what he did. They were like, "What? He's the nicest guy. He would never do
Mhm,
that." Okay, well, tell his 27 victims. You
mhm.
know, I really do. I think everybody has a good side and everybody has a bad side. It just depends on what side they tap into. And I think every person in some way, shape, or form is capable of something like not like that, but I think everybody has a possibility of a dark side. Some
Um,
are cool, some are, you know, it is what it is. But
I mean, you would think that you would have a little bit of morals, but
yeah,
like I said, there was no evidence against him, and I think that's where it really struck a nerve with me,
mhm,
because the theories on this, like, why not just call the cops? Well, was it
right,
because he was 80 years old? I mean, come on, it doesn't matter if he was 80 years old.
right,
They can still throw him in prison.
right. Well, and now his family has to sit there and wonder, did he or did
But
he not?
but then I'm not sure what the laws are there, but is there, I kind of actually now just this kind of popped into my head. Is there like a statute of limitations on that? That becomes an issue too. So if that time, let's just say the worst case scenario that time was up. I'm not saying that she should have thrown hot water with sugar on him. Okay. Like that was, again, I didn't even know that was a thing.
No, I didn't know either.
Okay, I would have been like, all right, I'm going to pour bleach in your eyes or something, or squirt it in your eyes. But that was the best thing that I could come up with.
That's harsh. That's going to burn.
Yeah, but you're going to lose your eyesight, maybe. I don't know. You could probably have corrective surgery. That's the worst case scenario that I could come up with. The worst household product that I probably have. And I don't even think I have bleach. So
I have a worse one, but I can't say it on air. I'll tell you behind the scenes.
But like I said, I mean, I'm not going to do that because I'm just not that type of person. But she just gathered whatever she had in the house.
Mm-hmm.
I'd be like, oh, I'm just wasting all this good sugar.
Well, and
for my coffee.
Well, and what if he really is innocent? Then you just killed an innocent man. Or if he did do it, now you killed a man, but now you have to spend the rest of your life in prison and you don't get the opportunity to help your daughter work through the trauma that she experienced. So it's, no matter how you look at it, there's no winning situation.
How do you know that like I said, it could have been for a number of things. Like maybe her daughter was the one that came up with the sugar idea. Like I couldn't even come up with that. Okay, let's just be honest.
Well, it's funny because I looked to see if like she was a baker or a cook or something. Because I mean, I know that like if you put sugar and water together, like it makes a little bit of a paste, but I don't know the proper ratios of it. But apparently 2 kettles and 3 bags.
But what happens if, and I think this is a bad joke, but what happens if she would have added some eggs?
Oh gosh. Have you ever seen an egg explode? They're awful.
I cannot more.
That's for a different show. Maybe we should start a cooking show. I don't know.
Probably not.
But I don't know. I just, like I said, there's just something, and I don't know if it's because there's no evidence or if there was no trial or if the man wasn't even questioned about it. I mean, even when he was in the hospital, they never questioned him.
That's what
whether he did it or not.
It is so bizarre. It's like, well, I'd rather kill you than let you go to trial and find out the truth.
No, I mean, even when he was in the ICU with the burns, the police never questioned him to say, hey.
Well, he was a burn victim.
Well, yeah, but I mean,
he's had how many surgeries?
Right. But I mean, don't you think somebody would have been like, so did you?
Yeah,
I mean, I would have been like.
But let's factor this in, okay? You have that extensive, I mean, just the burns itself, I could only imagine, like your skin, I mean, the skin peeled. Yes. Okay. So all those surgeries, can you imagine like how they would have to dope him up for pain?
Truth serum. Mm-hmm. If you're highly medicated, that's when you don't have the conscious ability to lie.
But what happens if they kind of put him in one of those things where like, you know what I mean?
Trick him into it.
Well, here's the thing. What I'm trying to get at, and I don't know how you can't get this. You're going to trick him into it. What I'm saying is he's probably on heavy drugs. Oh, hi, Nicole. Hi. He's probably on heavy drugs because he was burnt. I mean, I wouldn't want to be awake for that at all, like at any point whatsoever. I want the best medication on the market. Put me in a coma, do whatever you want to do. I do not want to feel that because that in itself, I mean, his skin peeled off.
Yeah.
I mean, why would you even want to wake up for that? I'm like, just take me now.
Well, and he did say that. He said, just let me die. No, but I'm saying, even if, like, I'm not saying that he was fully awake, but it's just, even, I don't know, just nobody
probably because nobody bought it.
But I mean, nobody questioned the daughter. Nobody questioned him. No one questioned anything aside from, why did you pour sugar water on him? That was it. Even during the trial, when she said why she did it, and that it was out of anger and things like that, they even came back and said, well, okay, but you planned it. So they still switched it.
Well, of course
they
she
never
planned it.
Well, yeah, she did, but I'm saying nobody even acknowledged the molestation, whether it happened or not. Nobody acknowledged. It was just like, shoop.
Because here's the thing, in one article that I read, they said that it was rumored.
Mhm.
Rumored.
Yeah,
so
there's
would that
no
have
road in it.
meant that maybe, just maybe, her daughter didn't say it, and maybe in her own crazy mind she just wanted to get rid of him, so it was a lot easier to say, well, my daughter said it, and her daughter's like, well, probably not.
And that would explain why her daughter was never in court.
Her daughter could have denied the whole thing, and that just could have been what she wanted them to hear. Maybe she just wanted rid of, her older husband. I mean, he was 80.
She was tired of taking care of him. But I mean, we keep saying he's 80, but in today's world, 80 is really not that bad.
I understand that, but I don't know any 80-year-old person that, like, I don't know. Maybe I just don't know any 80-year-olds yet.
But no, you're right. I mean, maybe she did just want him gone. Maybe she was tired of being his caretaker, and she just said, oh, I did this because my daughter raped her.
No, touched her, remember?
Touched her. I'm sorry. I'm changing the story. He touched her. But yeah, I mean, I don't know. Like I said, it's just weird.
Because we don't know the extent of the touch.
Right. And I don't know if it's just because it was like, oh, he died. That's the end of it. But like, I don't know. The fact, I find it hard to believe because there was literally nothing else aside from she said she was touched. That was it.
Well, but here's the thing, though. We could go back to this again. I remember Torgan, she broke her foot one time. So, you got to help them in and out of the bathtub and all this other rigmarole. Well, she could have turned around and said, well, she touched me because she got me out of the bathtub.
True.
Okay. How do you know that wasn't the case?
Yeah.
We don't know. What happens if the daughter had surgery?
Yeah.
Okay. I mean, I helped my grandma when she had knee surgery. I mean, it wasn't the most glamorous thing.
Right.
I've had surgeries and, other people had to help me. And like I said, I didn't think anything of it. I mean, could that have been a possibility?
I don't know. And, like I said, I wish they would have talked to the daughter. I wish we would have gotten more on the daughter's mental capacity and just anything more about the daughter. Because literally the only thing was she told her mom that he touched her. That was it. Nothing else. There was no story behind it, no time frame, literally nothing. And I think that's why it's so hard for me to believe that he did it.
I don't think he did it. I don't know. I just have that gut feeling like I think there was like this whole other motive and it was just something else. And I think the more things will start coming out because this is still a fresh case.
Maybe we should try Googling his name and seeing if he was.
I already tried that.
If he was like an heir to something that we're missing.
I already tried that. I didn't come up with anything. But I do know that we are out of time.
Oh, wow. That went fast.
I know. Nicole Strickland is on next.
Yeah. Go watch her. She's fantastic.
She is. She's such a wonderful person. She really is. You guys will love her. If you guys haven't listened to her now, I suggest, well, actually, I'm telling you to go listen to her.
Yeah. Do us a favor and go listen.
Yeah, just do it. So we will see you guys next Thursday.
Good night.
Bye.